Hello and welcome to Photo It's Bits, photography podcast where we talk about photography and every little bit that affects photography. We've got either a very short episode for you today or a very long episode depending on how things go. And sorry that we haven't been around. The last time we were here, our host tried to kill us. So that's why we have been staying away from this. I've got a nice panel for you, your regular panel, and the guy who usually messes up the stream is today in front of the camera. We've got Big Ben, the yellow Big Ben.
What's up, everybody? The Big Ben in the house.
All right, so yeah, you've seen everybody else, but Big Ben has never had a chance to introduce himself. So if you could just tell us who you are, what you do, and how you do it, then people can you know you're live.
Hi, I'm Big Ben. I'm Tsonga. That should tell you a lot about me. I'm a photographer. I'm sitting among royalty, people who taught me photography. I'm a photographer and I'm learning other things.
Okay, what kind of photography do you do?
I do mostly portrait photography, and currently I'm stuck in my studio, but I do outdoors as well. I do also fashion photography. What else is there in photography? I do it too.
All right. We've got our regular Mr. Retoucher, Mr. Super photographer, Mr. Spuda, Tom Zoid.
Hey, what up, good people? Citizens here again. Thank you so much, Mr. Nico, for having me here on this photography needs beats. Photography na manigi. So yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Yeah, and everything that you have as Buddha is on the live stream. So any questions that you want to put through or comments you want to put through, just put them in. Buddha will read them out for us. He's monitoring the live stream as we speak. And last but not least, our sound engineer for today, because Ben was messing up the last time, so somebody had to take his job. Mr. Mav Inc.
Hey, hi everybody. I'm Mav Inc. I do portraiture, fashion, glamour. I shoot people basically, and yeah, it's good to be here again.
All right. Oh, that was short. Like I said, today either it's going to be a very short podcast or a very long one. So depending on how everybody or what opinions, most of the podcast today is unscripted, but it's just we wanted to address the state of the photography. So today is the state of the photography address. Most of us, well, I don't know, actually. I started photography about 9-10 years ago as a hobby, and like as always, as my t-shirt always says, I'm not a photographer. So I'm not that deep into making photography, but these guys whom started just recently have been doing much more work. Now the topic that we've been discussing over the week amongst us over WhatsApp is how easy it is. You know, you see these posts every day on Facebook that every day I'm like, today everybody's a DJ, everybody's a photographer, everybody is this, because the barrier of entry is as much simpler than it used to be before. So we just want to address a few things as to, what we think about the state of photography lately. Should you, as a newcomer photographer, be going out getting tools that make things easier for you, or it's very important for you to learn photography starting from the basics? You know, when I started, my camera was a D40. And what did you use?
I started on a 20D.
20D.
Yeah, 20D.
My God, I started on a machine.
Smoother.
I started with a Nikon D3000.
D3000.
Yeah. That's where I was just shooting anything, man. I was shooting, man.
Yeah. So basically, everybody just started with basically cameras that were much better. My camera, let me just give you a rundown of the specs. A Nikon D40 is a 6 megapixel camera. You kept your ISO at 800, so which means between 400 ISO, then you're at your maximum level. Which nowadays, like 400 is basically nothing. So, and to get the color renditions, we still think we're shooting 8-bit. I think it was 8-bit because when I moved into my D300, you had an option of switching to 12-bit, which can only do one shot every 1.5 seconds. So when you change the setting to get that better color, you'd have to click, wait. You could never get that. So, unless if you're shooting 8-bit, then that's when you could get the 3 frames per second. And then, and the waking of that, bringing back all those things, your raw files back into Lightroom. I think it was Lightroom 3 when I started. Lightroom. Bringing back to Lightroom 3, you are basically looking at a flat image. It was, when I say flat, it means flat. You put in everything. Your color, you have to put it in. Your contrast, you have to put it in. But nowadays, how's the experience, Mav? You're shooting. Are you still shooting a pretty old camera though? 5D Mark II.
I'm shooting quite an old camera. My camera is about 11, 12 years old. Yeah, it's a 5D Mark II. And I'm just making do with that. And up until recently, I didn't really worry much. Until
what happened?
I think even on the last podcast I did say when we spoke mirrorless that I really was not onto the mirrorless wagon until Amy and Busang happened.
Exactly. So Amy no Busang in motion.
Amy no Busang happened, and I'm telling you, I could not believe, especially from the Fuji. The Sony is a full frame camera, so you kind of expect the dynamic range, the detail. But that Fuji with that crop sensor, the detail that you can, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Ben, go.
It's a killer, but I will say one thing: it feels like you're cheating.
It does.
Like it's so perfect when you shoot with that camera. I even believe that you can shoot while you're falling and still get a sharp picture. You can buy a camera today and tomorrow you shoot f1.2 and you're a good camera photographer because of that. But I was fortunate enough to have started my photography in varsity instead of primary and crash and stuff like that, like they did. When I started photography, I started literally last year, especially the portraiture photography. I used to cover weddings with Marv and stuff. I shot the 60D and then we shot the 5D Mark II, the 70 as well. Quite beautiful cameras. Like Marv said, like Nick said, until you go into that witchcraft of mirrorless and then you see how sharp those things go and like the amount of details that it gives you to play around with, it's quite cheating, man. But it's beautiful.
Okay, good point. Coming back to this cheating thing, you mentioned that you could be falling and be shooting at 1.2 and still get your focus. Coming back to, let's do the basics. Never mind the technology, the improvement in technology. Let's come back to the basics. Is it important for people to learn how to focus nowadays? Because anybody can shoot 1.2 if you have any of those cameras. Is it important for somebody who's coming into photography to say, 5D Mark IV has what? Phase detection or contrast detection. There's Fujis and Sonys. They've got they follow your subject around. Your eye detects it. It always catches the eye. Whereas when we come to your standard cameras, let's say up to the 5D Mark III or 5D Mark II, and the cameras that came out about 6 years ago, you really had to know how to use your either your back button focus or focus manually or focus flash shutter. How important is it that people need to learn how to focus? Let's stick only with focus. Let's stick with focus.
I would say For me, it's still pretty important.
But why?
Yeah.
Why would it be
Yeah.
important if I'm
Because-
still able to get the results? If I'm still able
Why-
to get the results?
Why I say that in my own opinion is, well, now there is medium formats that now can also maybe do the automatic focusing. But now imagine if you get a big job, you have to shoot a banner that's 12 meters by 3 meters that people will be standing in front of. So you really need that medium format resolution, and now you have to go back to a camera that is full manual. And now if you're unable to really do your manual focusing and manual exposure and so forth, you wouldn't be able to work in such an environment. But if you're gonna literally be shooting for social media or smaller prints, you could always use your camera. For me personally, I want to be able to use any camera I put my hands on, be it a Nikon, be it a whatever, be it, I've never shot Hasselblad, but I want to be able to, if I have to shoot, be comfortable enough to be able to get the work done. So for me, I think that's the only reason why I would say it's still quite important for me to learn how to do that, because it's only the newer cameras. If you're looking at it, the X-T3s, the Sony A7 IIs, and it's quite relatively new cameras that give you the eye autofocus and all these nice goodies. If you still have to go back to any of the older systems, which are still currently in use, then you have a bit of a problem. But that's my take on it.
Well, okay. Actually, I'm so sorry. I just saw the comments here. All right, because today I'm doing two jobs. Okay, yeah. Just to add on what Mavs just said now. Mina, I really feel like we are being robbed away the fun in photography. The fun is no more there. Number one, if we are sitting around here discussing photography, we need to talk the basics. I need to ask Umav, how do you focus so sharp, bro? How do you catch focus? You know, we are being robbed away the fun in photography. It's now.
Press a button and
Yeah.
it's done.
Nyanis, okay,
But-
it's fine.
But that's just how technology
Yeah.
goes, you know.
I think I feel the same way. In a sense, given that I started photography last year, had I started photography maybe on the mirrorless, I'll be saying that maybe it is okay to have. But I think to understand photography, you have to go through the basics and understand whether you know how to focus regardless of whether you're using machine. Like, for example, I've been telling Mav that I want to try shooting using manual focus, so that I learn how to focus either or, whether I have a machine that works with that or not. So I'll be able to survive in whatever conditions that I'm faced with. But I think, like Spoo said, the mirrorless system, it's technology, it's beautiful. Technology is supposed to make it easier for you and stuff like that. But it takes away the photographer. I don't know if maybe some people might disagree with me, but I feel like it takes away that photographer in you. Like, the technicalities of it. Like now you just point and shoot. You understand? And then there's when you're editing, there's cropping, so you don't even need to know your compositions and stuff like that. All you need to do is make sure that the camera has the eye pointed and then shoot, and then you get a clean picture. And whereas right now with the DSLR systems, it's all systems, yes, but you do a whole lot more work in trying to get your picture to be better and to look the way it does. Though mirrorless, I won't lie, it's technology that's obviously it's gonna phase out the DSLR at some point. But for now, I would use a mirrorless, but it will seriously be a very serious thought of, do I leave the DSLR or do I go mirrorless?
Okay, here's the question to all of you. All right, we make, or Ben, you make your money mostly from photography,
Yeah.
right? If you had 10 clients a day, would you would you use a system that makes your job easier? People walk in, shoot out, knowing that every shot that you took was spot on. Or would you rather take the whatever 550D that you're using now, and struggle through? I was like, okay, no, wait, let's redo that shot. Let's okay, out of focus. What would you rather have?
Honestly, I don't think it's a fair
By
question.
the way, this question is for everyone.
I think obviously the mirrorless will make the workflow faster. Yes, when you look at such technicalities, the mirrorless will always top. Technology is meant to make things easier, right? And as much as we think, bakoshi machine, bakoshi abantu, and that's what's happening with cameras as well. You understand? Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think when it comes to client work, definitely the mirrorless. Now I can go to the wedding. I can see the picture before I take it. I don't need to move my eye from the eyepiece. I see the picture after I've taken it in the eyepiece. I've got full control of the situation. I can basically edit that wedding 2 days, deliver it. Cool. But I think when it comes to the work that I do personally, then that's where I really want to go the extra mile.
It goes with grooming yourself in photography. You need to somehow you need to go back and know the basics of photography, going up until the level where you can say, you know what, let me just grab myself a mirrorless.
Yeah.
If you look, there's guys that are still shooting film. There's guys that are still shooting an old wooden camera. There's a guy who still shoots on it, and
they are producing the
killing
marvelous
it.
way.
Like,
I think that's for you personally when I'm shooting what I like and I'm doing that
Creating
work.
art.
But when it comes to client work and you look at the ease of use, the speed, man, you cannot fight a mirrorless. I also was one of those people who were saying mirrorless, but after using it, man, I can go to a wedding literally and shoot and deliver that wedding in 2 days.
Yeah.
I
I think the mirrorless is that I remember when we were using the Fuji. As I was shooting, I saw the picture correcting itself in the eyepiece. I was like, "What is happening now?" You understand? Like the colors are already fixed and stuff like the JPEG feeling about it. But the picture that you get, I won't lie, it's a beautiful picture. And like I said, technology is meant to make things better, right? Yeah. That's why you can't compare 1981 Corolla to today's Corolla. There has to be a better car.
But they must get into an accident. Let's see what survives. Let's see what survives.
But they got airbags and stuff, and warnings and brakes that stop from far.
All right. Okay. So, but then, what are we saying in summary? What are we saying is, we're talking. The main complaint about the people who've been doing this for a while, or people who are doing this better, are complaining that everybody now is a photographer because the barrier of entry is much easier. So, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is the complaint based on the failure as you as a photographer, as a business person, or to have your own market and stand out from that market, or because I can basically get a Sony or a Fuji, give it to anybody and just show them how to frame the thing, and then the next thing they have a shot, colors rendered properly or much better than what my current 6D would do. What are we saying now? Or is it a bad thing? Should the camera companies just slow down with the technology? Because when I remember 5, 6 years, 7 years back, people were complaining that Sony and Nikon are not innovative enough. But now the other companies, Canon and Nikon and Canon were not innovative enough. Now Sony came through, Fuji came through. They put basically, and Olympus came through. They basically put every little bit that you could onto those cameras. You've got Wi-Fi, you've got Bluetooth. You have instant gratification. If you want to take a photo for Instagram, you can just basically post it straight from your camera onto Instagram. All the colors will be proper. Your focus will be spot on. So, what are we saying to the companies? Are they going too fast? That the doors are opening too wide? That too many people are coming in there? Or do we still need to say to everybody that's coming in that despite all these features that you're getting, we should take a step backwards and learn how to shoot with a normal cameras, so to speak, in quotation marks, because then the new normal now is this new cameras. So what are we saying? Are we saying, okay, let's take our students going backwards, let's learn the basics, lose all those things, close the screen on the back of your camera, and then shoot without that, by going into a room, reading the light. Okay, this room is plus minus ISO 800, maybe f2.8 or f35, and shutter speed maybe 100. What are we saying?
I don't know. Personally, I feel technology must move forward. Technology is there to make our lives easier.
Okay.
And now, if we were to give 10 people mirrorless cameras with all these nice fancy things, they can basically just click a button, get the eye and everything, I would say probably 8 of those pictures would look the same, you know. And if those 2 guys that really know what they're doing, what they're gonna do with the results in post, how to properly process the picture and everything, if you go into Instagram with the filters and everything, a lot of people look the same. But once in a while you come through a feed and you're like, okay, I need to step back. Now this is interesting, you know. Okay, and then you scroll another 15 posts that are just the normal filters, and you get to a post. So I think if you're, as a photographer, if you want to get to that niche, that where you are able to actually make people stop on their tracks, is to then go the extra mile and learn how to properly process the pictures in whatever editing suite you use, be it Photo Mechanic, Photoshop, Lightroom, whatever. Also to learn to read your composition as you're shooting, you know, the pose, is the pose proper? What is my light doing? Am I working with my light, or am I working against my light? You know, am I gonna need to use my strobe? Do I need to use my reflector? How close is the reflector to the person? Those small little details. Buddha usually says when he's editing, the small details matter. You know, those, when you watch Smoother edit, nothing is happening on the screen. You can stand there for 30 minutes, you're like, hey, this guy is, the mouse is going up and down, the tempo is going up. You're like, this, until he goes and he says before
and then after.
And you're like, okay, now I can see that. So I think taking that extra time to add in that little details, those little details is what really matters to your photo. So to me, I say the companies must move forward, but it's up to you as the photographer, if in which league do you really want to be. And
all right,
I think I agree with Marv. Not because we're in the same circle, guys, but simply because technology is meant to make things easier. But one thing that's honest and that's true, it's the equipment that you use does not mean you're a photographer. The equipment, you might shoot a 550, you might shoot a 550, you might shoot a Fuji, you might shoot a 5D, and give all those cameras to one person who's a photographer on a full-time basis. I think they'll pull off the same picture in the sense of composition and everything else, right? And probably lighting, but I think if you take the very same cameras and give it to somebody who just started, you're gonna have different things happening there. You understand? I think it's not your tools. It's more of, are you an artist or not? You understand? And yes, you can learn photography easy, but as much as you're learning photography, how much of your learning are you putting out there? You understand? I think technology, it's there. We could be like the Kodak of this world and say film will never change. Film is always going to be there. And today we're sitting at DSLR. You understand? And today we're actually sitting at the mirrorless. Film is something of the past. Soon we'll probably be shooting wirelessly. No, not even an SD card.
Just touching the camera on your eye.
Like look at our phones. You understand? Our phones are now cameras. You take a Huawei, you take an iPhone, you take a Samsung. Those give you a raw image as well, right? And I think technology is one thing that you cannot deny yourself of it's gonna happen. Everything changes and everything grows.
Yeah. Coming into that, I'll just ask Mr. Nico, our host, to let me go through our comments right here. I'm having fun.
All right.
I'm sure everyone
Yes.
can see Uguti. I'm not the part of this today. I'm only just focusing on the comments. We've got lovely people here. We had Tate Blow ZA. He joined us. We've got Bongs Tesla Sabakwena. Hi guys. Then we have Mr. Ray Seda. We've got Gift Mpo Ramotsepe. We've got Jason Velohoven. I just hope I read that right. Then
Oh,
we've
yes,
got
Jason. How's it, Jason?
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from
Jason.
Mpumalanga. Hey, we're coming there to Mpumalanga.
Definitely. Then we have Nonku Sabasa.
Oh,
Sasa.
Nonku Sabasa.
Yeah.
That's my BFF, by the way.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, Mr. Ray said I was saying Nikon D3000, 3100. He was laughing at us. Yeah, Mr. Ray. Yeah, it's been a long journey. Then we have Jason. He was saying, the sound is finally tops. Obvious. That is recharging the sound. Then he was just
Big Ben
saying
is
all
not
again.
there.
So Mr. Jason. Then we have Mawaz Spa. You guys are an inspiration. Thank you so much, Wawaz. We are being inspired by you. Thank you so much. And there's Bongs Tehla Sabakwena.
Bongs
What's up,
from all the
Bongs
way
from
from
the
UK.
We are international, baby.
Mr. Bongs he was just waving something that Big Ben just said now. He was saying, wait, you're talking about mirrorless. What about what the mobile phones are doing now? Check out the Samsung S10, Huawei Pro Series, etc. Mr. Bongs, I'll just let that... Nico will answer that. Marv will answer that. And Big Ben will answer. Today I'm not doing anything. I'm just, yeah. Then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you so guys for joining us. I'll keep on reading the comments here. Thank you so much, Mr. Nico.
All right, no, thank you guys. Everybody, keep the comments coming, questions coming, please. Let's make this work. Let's going back to the topic at hand. Ben, how many cars do you have?
Cars.
Yeah, how many cars do you have?
Hey, John. Wait a minute. I'm left with one car.
Okay. Marv, how many cars do you have?
I got 3.
You got okay, except for Marv, ne? Right? Because I only have one car. Okay, the point that I'm trying to make is, in most cases, when you have a camera bag, you only have just the one camera in there. If you're going to shoot a wedding, maybe you'll borrow a second camera or hire a second camera.
True.
Now, why should somebody who's learning or is entering into photography go buy a new camera and an older camera for the sake of learning? I mean, when you buy a newer camera, let's say the Fuji, I mean, the entry level price for Fuji is what, about 24K. Sony is 48,000 rands. The Sony is the same price, around the same price as a 5D Mark IV. So, I mean, are you saying to a person who's coming in, let me buy a 5D Mark IV, which is a big camera, or let me buy a more compact camera, which is a Sony version, or for the person who doesn't have the budget that much, get a Fuji XT3, which is about 20,000 rands,
Or 30.
or 30,000, yeah. So, I mean, except for the people who are buying 5,000 rand starter cameras from Macro or whatever, we're talking about people who are going there as a serious or more serious or advanced amateur photographer. They're obviously going to buy the more recent whatever that they can afford. So, are we saying then, how do you learn all those things focusing manually with your Fujifilm or your Sony film?
I think let's look at the Fujifilm, because I've been exposed to quite a lot shooting with Amy. The Fuji, as much as it's got a lot of automation, is also a full manual camera. You have your aperture on the lens itself.
Yeah, the
You
aperture
can-
ring, which
aperture
we
ring,
all. I remember
which
that.
a lot of people
I
Which is
miss-
quite
I-
confusing.
I missed that
This
because
is quite confusing.
my first
saw-
my first 50mm had an aperture ring.
Yeah.
Didn't understand what that thing is. It used to stay on the widest open, I think 2.8, and I would on 1.8, and I would lock it there, because then if you move it from there, everything else, your aperture is manual.
Yeah.
So until I discovered that actually you can control your aperture manually we just started having fun. I would shoot and then change my aperture by turning the ring instead of just using one of the dials on the camera. So which was for me a fun thing that I discovered.
Yeah.
You could even do video like that actually if you wanted. When I moved to the D90, I used that quite a lot because the D90 was the first camera first DSLR to have video. So it was quite nice using the aperture ring to move up and down.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back to the question at hand.
I would say definitely go for the newest camera you can afford. There's no reason why you wanna go backwards.
Okay.
I shoot quite an old camera and I'm quite comfortable with it. But if somebody was to come new, I would say go for the newest camera you can. You get the most bang for your buck. You get quite a lot of features which you might use, which you might not use. But I think all the systems still offer you full manual controllability. If you still want to go and really learn how to do your exposure triangle, you really do have the option to dial in your shutter, if you still want to really go and learn your composition and your focusing, you can still learn on that, but you also get all the new features that you might like. I used to say you have a 60 with Wi-Fi. I used to say I don't know what Wi-Fi is for. Until we're in Mozambique and we're shooting and I was like, I want the phones right now in my and with Nico's camera it was so nice, just to the phone and so I don't think rob yourself of that. I mean, I would say purchase as new a camera as you can afford and move on from there.
Just to add on that one, buy yourself a camera that you can afford. Don't drop yourself knowledge. Learn what is ISO from the book. Know how to frame the picture. What's the rule of thirds? You will find someone with Sony A7R3 not knowing what's the rule of thirds. And it's sad, man. It's sad because now when we're discussing photography, you'll end up being like a person or ongazi ukuthi wenzani with photography, So just don't drop yourself in knowledge. Get out there, learn more about basic photography rules and everything. I
think it's true. If you want to be like me and start in varsity, buy yourself a very expensive camera if you can afford. But if you want to enjoy photography like I'm doing right now, recently I just got myself a 40D. It's an old camera. I can't wait to play with it. Cause I wanna go back to learning the primary lessons of photography in a sense. Maybe it's I think it's more of the feel of I think if you wanna go pro, like usually they say history is dumb to learn at school, but I think learning a bit more using your old cameras. Maybe if you can afford a new camera, obviously buy a new camera. But I would also advise probably get yourself a small little camera to learn from and how to use all these manuals things that you can do. Because the newer cameras are very dope, believe me. But they take away everything that you need to understand about photography. Like Swu is saying, there is so many things that you're missing out on. Like we're talking just adjusting your lightings and stuff like that. Whereas more like your phone, when you point with the latest cameras, the picture just becomes perfect. You understand? And I think it's more on how you want to know more about your photography. And the more you learn, the better you become. Like whether you use new or old, I think it's more on you. Do you want to know more about photography than anything else? But I will go first old.
Very good points. Very good points. Before, there's a nice question that I just saw now on the Facebook from which will come to. I'll tell you just now. But basically, just in summary, just to close off this first session. Yes, the cameras will give you everything, the newer ones more especially. If you are a volume person, if you produce in volume, yes, those features are an advantage to you. But I don't think you should take away from as a DJ, as much as you have the beat sync, you still need to understand the fundamentals of beat matching.
Yeah.
Now, the beat matching comes to, okay, when is this song coming? When is the intro point? Where is the down point? Where is this? By so saying, I'm coming back to photography. Understand what ISO is. Understand what your shutter speed is, what it does. Understand what your aperture is and what it does. Avoid being a cookie cutter. Avoid having your images be the same as Usbuda and your Nico's image is the same as yours, and the person following Nico is the same. So basically, you end up all having the same thing. Because I'm seeing from my side, I don't know about you guys. Me, I go through Instagram and I'm like, oh, okay, there's a nice shot,
But
beautiful shot. Here's a nice models, nicely lit, everything. Background blurred out. I can't tell where they are. Okay, it's a nice shot. Let's not take away. Maybe they were just going for the model details. Now we go back to another photograph has the same image. Okay, we go through this lens to find beautiful locations, but you'll never see that in the photos because everybody's at 1.2, right? Everybody's shooting 1.2. It's basically the color blur that blends in with the photo, as if you were at the Constitutional Hill. I can shoot the same image in the Standard Bank building in Joburg. Basically because the backgrounds are more or less the same color. They're the same color, they're blurred, so I can't tell. So there's very much value into learning composition, learning when and what aperture to use. Thank God lighting is not as automated as what the cameras are now. So if you still don't know how to light your photos, well, you might have the focus, you might have everything. I think once they figure out the automation in lighting, you might as well retire and become plumbers, as Utabang would always say. Some of you guys just need to become plumbers because there's too many of you that are doing the same thing. Just closing off this session, there's a nice question to move on from Princess Wavilankulu Mutloiwa. Please, Sbuda.
Just so that, okay, Princess. Hi, Princess. Princess is saying, what is the one thing you guys wished you knew when you guys started taking pictures, photos? Amongst the gadgets that you guys own, is there something that you wish hadn't bought? And why? I'm so looking forward to the answers on this one.
Please ask the question again.
Okay, the question is, what is one thing you guys wished you knew when you guys started taking pictures? Amongst the gadgets that you guys own, is there something that you wish you hadn't bought?
Oh.
And why?
What a question, Princess.
Mav?
I think I'll go that first. The kit lens. I think is one gadget. I think I think that really got me stuck in a rut for quite a bit. As soon as I moved to the 50mm prime, I learned now how to compose better. I think the zoom rings become very disturbing when you're learning because you want to stand here and you want to zoom in or zoom out, not understanding you're affecting your depth, not understanding you're affecting your compression, and so I will stand here and I'll let the person stand there and I'll zoom in and I'll take a picture. Next thing I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to take the picture and I'm not understanding what I'm affecting. While when you're working with a prime lens, you're affecting, that if I open my object, I'm affecting the depth, the compression, zooming in with your legs. I think that's where I really started being conscious with how I frame my shots and everything. So I think the gadget, the kit lens, the salespeople make it sound very nice. You're gonna get this lens and that lens plus that lens and with bundle. And I was very happy when I left Haifa Corp with my 600D and my kit lenses. But at the end of the day, I usually tell people just buy a body and buy a 50mm lens. That will be a great combo that will take you places. So for me, I think the gadget that I really is a kit lens that is still in front of me.
Please tell us who got you to throw away your kit lens.
Mr. Mabas. True story. True story.
Niyangsukela.
I went and the first day I met up with him, he told me to throw away my kit lenses, and I had these nice glass UV filters in front of my kit lenses, and he made me throw them away.
But you'll be amazed what they can do in the studio. The
No.
I was gonna come
But
back to
this is
that.
the thing.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying it stood. It delayed my understanding of all this. But as a lens, it's a very capable lens. We used it as Studio Sky Lungile. I'm telling you, the shots were amazing.
Studio sakalungile
You understand?
bekusebenza 1855. It was only 1855.
Yeah.
It was the
It was
only
a very
lens.
small studio.
It was a very tiny studio.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the only lens that could get you in there.
And it was fun. It was fun working on that studio because that's where we learned
Exactly.
this is what we need for us to
Yeah,
achieve such
yeah,
results.
to
But
survive,
that
yeah.
18 by 55 saved us, eh?
No.
No,
I still own one.
I've got photos. You know, like my first experience with studio. My proper experience with studio was at Lungile Studio, and they were like, "Come in, Booty. You know, studio tattoos. You just need to learn the basics. And once you learn how to light in studio, it's easier for you to shoot outside. You went in there with your 1855. It's like." I mean, I came in there knowing what I thought I knew. I was like, I mean, why would I be shooting a 1855? And then once you started learning how the dynamics of lighting works, that 1855, I would show you the photo, you wouldn't believe.
True.
You would think I'm using a 2470 G lens or something like that, you know. So yeah, okay, Ben, you wanna add in or you wanna answer your question?
I think like I said, I was fortunate enough to start in varsity, so I didn't have those textbooks. This is Zabupeni and Petty. I was already reading quantum physics. I think on the kit lenses,
Yeah.
on the kit lenses, especially in the studio, I think the studio is quite easy to shoot with a kit lens. No? When you go outside, kit lenses become something else, eh?
Yeah.
But when you're outside, when you have a prime lens,
Yeah.
you find very little use of a kit lens.
Sure.
And also depending on the camera that you use.
Yeah.
Like when Marv says you have to learn to zoom using your body. The other time when I was shooting outside with a 70-200, shot at 135 now, right? And the compression, I was shooting 3.2, and given the new cameras going back to that everybody shoots 1.2, like you could tell the compression that's there when you're shooting at the 135 mil lens versus the 1.2. Like the compression and the blur is beautiful, but when you're shooting on a higher aperture, obviously your background, you do see most of your background compared to. I honestly love those pictures shot 1.2, but do I want to shoot 1.2? I'm not so sure, because they look the same. And so like when you say we could use different locations, there's no use for it. Because everything's going to be played out. So why we might as well just be in one place, just stand there, and then shoot. You understand? I think the kit lenses, when you're learning, use them to the max until you understand why you can't use a kit lens anymore.
Yeah.
You understand? Like a lot of people want to buy their Fuji because maybe they can afford it, which is not a problem, but if whatever camera you can afford, the most important thing is the lens. And then while you're shooting, shoot your camera to the max until you go like, I need something better than what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I think that's why you should change your
You should
camera
hit
settings.
once you hit the ceiling, then
once
that's
you
when
hit the ceiling and you go like, can't I get a better picture than this using the way I shoot? And then obviously when you move to a better machine, you get different results. You move to a better lens, you get better results. You understand? Yeah.
Okay, let me just answer Princess's question. What is the one thing you guys wish you knew? I wish I knew what which kit lenses to take with when going to shoot my first wedding. You guys don't wanna know.
What happened?
Yay! I was black summing with an 18 by 55, and then the bride was far. And then I was doing those poses, but I was lying down flat in my stomach with an 18 by 55, wow. And if I can still get those images back to see what is it that I produced, oh, I'll kill myself. Then one of the gadgets that I wish I didn't buy would be a battery grip. That thing is heavy. That thing is heavy.
No, I
That
can't-
thing is
I
heavy.
don't- I can't imagine
It's
life without
heavy,
it.
heavy. It's nice. The handle is nice, but the thing is heavy.
There's no life without battery grip.
I
I don't know
understand.
where.
But there's life with no battery.
No.
Battery grip.
When you have to shoot that's all tell you, battery
So,
There's
yeah,
no life without battery grip. Seriously.
I can't imagine life without it.
So yeah, that's it. Thanks, princess. And
Mina ngaphenduli.
oh,
You
okay.
don't care. You don't care. All right. Okay. Okay. When I started, what was one thing that I wish I knew? I started in an age where there was no data, there was no such thing. I used to have an ISDN line. If all of you knew what that is, you don't know what an ISDN.
We were not born yet.
Don't say that. I still have one.
We were not born yet.
No, like my learning of photography was basically downloading YouTube videos at work and going home and learning about it. The one thing that I'm grateful for, basically was YouTube. That was a big learning.
That's a big
Yeah,
university.
That was a very big, very, very big eye opener. And one thing I wish I had done more is I wish I had the conviction to go out and practice more, to shoot more, as I was learning all those things. And when I said, okay, never mind the D40, let's start with the D300. When I moved into the D300, I basically got a D300 and I bought a 50 million. That was the best thing I've ever done. I basically got rid of the 1855. For me, that lens was useless. Remember, I was still alone. I was still the token black photographer. I had never met you guys. For me, 1850 was useless. I only had a D300 and a 50mm lens. That's all I used to shoot. The next thing that I got was a speed light, SB 900, which I got for 4,000 rands. Now the same speed, brand new by the way. The same speed light today will cost you 12,000 rands. The same speed light.
That's a
You know,
speed light, not a
Two
stroke.
Godox
Hey, wow. I'll buy a Godox ADC.
So the highest sync speed that could do was a 320. I think it was higher than Canon. Canon maxed out at 250, I think.
250, yes.
Yeah. So I think those three things were the best things. I had a better camera. It was not full frame. It was a crop sensor, which D300, the 50 mils, and the SB, the speed light. Now the 50, as Mav, I'm not gonna stop saying this. It teaches you your relation to the subject and composition.
True.
I can basically walk up to a scene. Mav knows. I basically, when I want to shoot, I walk up to a scene and say, okay, fine. Here, this is how I see the scene. My eyes see in 50. Then if I think, okay, I need to reach in a bit further, then without moving, I can easily take 85 and I would get the right composition the way I had imagined it. So your prime lenses, if it means take your 1855 and tape it down on 50 millimeters, obviously on crop, you'd be, if you're shooting a full frame camera with they don't make 1855 for a full frame, né? So okay, so basically on your crop sensor, if you have an 1855, if you can tape, if you can afford a 50, which is one of the cheapest lenses by the way, if you tape it to 50 and say, I'm not going to zoom in, I'm not going to zoom out, I'm just only going to focus.
True.
Start learn to see the world in 50.
Yeah.
Then it gives you the dimension, it gives you your relation between you and the subject. If you want to capture this, how much further in or out do you need to be? So that's one of the best investments I've ever done. So, and one thing that I could wish I could have gotten rid of. I wish I had gotten a camera bag. I still today, 10 years later, I still don't have a proper camera bag. I'm not lying. Not lying to you. I still don't have a proper camera bag. But the only other thing is, I wish I'd shot more.
Yeah.
and like when I'm saying shoot more and lesser paying jobs, but shoot more for me. Experimental to say, okay, here's a Vogue magazine on page 20. There's this shot that I like. I want to reproduce that or see how they got that. I wish I'd done that more in my day than I did. Want to move on? Next question.
I want to move to the next question from, okay, we have Tembinkosi Mashinini. What lighting is referring to that mini studio of ours?
Yeah.
Tembinkosi Mashinini is asking us, what lighting setup do you guys use in a small setup to get that pure white background?
We're still shooting a very small shoot.
We still have it. We still have it. We had two of these before you pay.
Yeah.
They got 300
two of
watts.
those.
No,
it was
No,
three.
it was NM
Two
Chrome.
NM
Chrome, yeah.
and one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're here. Just behind you.
There
Should
was
be one
someone
on the
here.
floor. On.
I know they were here.
There.
Anyway. Okay.
You're lucky
Yeah.
you still have
It was
them
two
here.
NM
You're gonna
Chromes
see what
and
you
one
use
Hive,
with
yeah.
Tembinkosi.
Yeah, we still have them and we're still using them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever result you're still seeing today is the same
the
lights
same
that we
light,
had
yeah.
that we had years
And we
ago.
used to do the 3 and 2 light setups.
Yeah.
You 4 light setups in that studio. Hi, Baba Ko.
And
Yeah.
also just to put it out there as well, I get a lot of people who come up to me or who contact me through social media to say, hey Marv, hey, I see your beautiful work, blah blah blah, what lights and what, and half my portfolio is actually speed lights.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was speed lights
Yes.
and a white wall.
Yes.
I didn't even have a backdrop. It
Yes.
was
Yeah.
speed lights.
Yes.
It was 3 speed lights and a white wall. So
Yeah.
so don't think you really have to go out there and buy the expensive
Pro
lights and pro
photos.
photo and what,
If anybody here in this podcast listening can afford a Pro Photo, please send us a sponsorship. We need web cameras, we need
Yeah,
lighting
we-
in here.
I actually know a photographer who uses a pro photo.
Yeah, so please do send us webcams and more
Ask
lighting.
Blackmore.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
we sort of sorted out the sound, so we just need more cameras.
Yeah, so really just the speed lights. I think for me, speed lights are also your friend. So
Yes.
don't be afraid.
That's
Mm.
right. Then we've got one. I think it's one last question, if I'm not mistaken, from Ray.
We still have one more subject to go through.
Oh yeah, from Ray. Ray is asking what to advise new shooters who come in the game of photography and they charge clients below to market standards, as clients now expect the same from you who went through this long learning process and expensive equipment.
Okay, I'm gonna put this post this comment to Ben. Mainly the reason why is because he's still newish in the game. He's much new. I want Ben to answer this first, and then maybe Spuda and Marv and I will weigh in on top of that. Ben, I think this goes back to the question that Precious.
Yes.
Yeah. I think.
You don't have to give us the figures,
Yeah.
but
I think-
more
I
or less
think-
the idea behind it.
Yeah, I think mostly it's as you shoot. Like when I started, obviously I wasn't gonna charge like Nico, Marv, or Spuda. I'm still not charging like them, ladies and gentlemen, people. But I think the experience, and as Ray is asking, like with better equipment and stuff like that, I think as much as equipment is a factor, but if a new photographer who comes from a cheesy family and they is able to afford pro photo and stuff like that, one thing that's for sure, he's still new, he's still inexperienced, right? So he's gonna be struggling with a lot of things. I think as you learn, same as in graphic designs, in a sense, if I could put it like that. A new graphic designer will take 10 days to do a logo. An old graphic designer will take 10 minutes to do a new logo. Experience comes with that. You pay for the experience. I think there is no way I'm going to charge like a Busan, for example. You understand? Because I'm quite new. You understand? As people develop and see your work and you develop as well, people will also be coming to you rating themselves as do I qualify to shoot with Ben? You can take my work and take somebody who just recently started and compare the two. And obviously, as you compare the two, you will see which ones. If they charge 200 rands for 30 pictures and I charge you, for example, 300 rands for 20 pictures, and you see my work and you see the 200 rands work, you're gonna see the differences, right? And that's your choice. Like new photographers, okay, I think some photographers just go into the game for the money. Yes, everything is it's a bottom line, but I think we all have to start from scratch, basically. Yeah.
All right. I don't know, Mav. What do you think? Do you want me to weigh in, or you wanna say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. When people ask me why I charge so much, yes, I have a simple answer, which is corny. Is I always say my wife likes to eat at Mike's Kitchen.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing. Okay. It's by so saying is to say that I have a certain standard that I'm living by.
Yeah.
If I go out and I spend an hour, or if I go out and shoot for 2 hours, I probably would have spent 30 minutes or an hour at home preparing, charging batteries, thinking about what I'm gonna do. Maybe just going through the internet and doing all those things, like, okay, this idea that I want to do, this time I want to do. So all that time I'm factoring it in. It's part of the shoot. It's part of the money that I'm charging you. It's R&D, research and development, right? And to the point that I get in my car, start the car, put in the petrol to go wherever we're shooting or wherever we're meeting up. That's also time. So basically, I have a minimum thing, which, I will not do any shoots below X amount. I'd rather be home sitting with my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
And if you're saying it's too high, I'm sorry, I cannot. If it's a fun project, then I know I've already invested my emotions to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. If it's a fun project for me, but you need to have a certain standard. You need to know weigh your quality of work against the people who charge a certain price range and say, okay, my work is this price range. I can go between, let's say, 2,000 and 5,000 rands an hour and be happy with that, knowing that the shoe that you wear, you like wearing expensive things, you like eating expensive places. It doesn't mean I'm going to charge Michelangelo. I can't afford Michelangelo myself, but I'm not going to charge that money. But I want to charge being able to go to Max Kitchen and eat for 300 rands. So it doesn't mean all that money that came from the shoot must go to Michael. I still need to have money to pay electricity that I charge or use to edit. So you need to have a certain standard to say, okay, my work is equals to X amount. Equals the standard of X photographer, and this is more or less what they're going at. I'm not undercutting them, but my minimum price will start at somewhere in between that. It's either equal to that photographer or more than that, depending on where you stay. You buying Isinkwa Espaza is not the same as buying Isinkwa a garage. The rent a garage is more expensive than the guy who has his pass. So that's why the pricing is different, but it's still the same bread. That's it. I don't know.
I just hope Mr. Ray, this guy is back, Shasha. But I just hope you got what you needed, man. And yeah, let's just carry on to our okay, to our next topic.
All right. Okay. Software. Let's talk Lightroom to new photographers. Let's talk Photoshop to new photographers. More specifically, let's talk about editing. And even more specific, let's talk about presets.
Yeah.
Let's talk about plugins.
The hardest
Let's
part.
talk about panel, panel. I'm not gonna give them to you because I know all of you will go download them, and the next thing nobody edits anymore. I'm saying this. There's an image. I wonder if I can still see a window here. Okay, let me. Please don't. I hope OBS doesn't crash on us. All right, let's switch to window. Whoa, all right, there we go. This image. Fujifilm. No.
I got the image.
Fujifilm X-T3. You know, if I said I spent 5 minutes on this image, and it's not even done, but you know the quality.
It's cheating.
It's basically cheating. I found a few little things that do a lot of things that I want. You know, frequency separation in one, spot removal in one plugin. I use another plugin to color map the image. Where are we on that? New photographer. Now, before you figure that, myself, me, okay. The reason why I'm never a photographer or I'm never a DJ, I'm not a DJ. I'm more techie. I'm a person who's like, okay, I see something challenging, I want to figure it out, and that's it. Once I figure it out, I'm done with it. I'm just doing it for fun.
Yes.
You know, my journey to photography was like, you know what, I want to learn how to do this. I want to figure out how they do this. So, okay, what did they do? Okay, ISO. All right, okay. So I need to learn ISO. Once I figure all those things out, then basically for me, I'm done. That's why you'll never find me shooting most of the time. I just do it for the fun of it because I think I have those things figured out. I just need 2 extra things. And think when I say I figured out everything, probably I'll be joining Sensei in retirement because I've done it all. So, I mean, like when it comes to software, the editing, editing now, it was a journey for me. Yes. I never understood how this thing was done. I could go shoot the images, bring them in, but I'll put them the same. We've been begging Usbuda for years to like do an editing workshop for us. Do an editing workshop for us. Teach us. I Usbuda, no, yes, yeah, Kumbisa this and that. Today, Fundisi frequency separation. I have no idea what he's doing on Photoshop. And the next thing is doing color mapping, gradient mapping, and I was like, I have no idea of how to do that. You know, what Usbuda has, what I've seen, there's one photo that I've done, Teletubby. I've seen Usbuda work on that image. You know, it's like as Marv would say, subtle changes that you never see anything until you go before and after. I was like, okay, I get it now. So editing is a skill on its own. So now, if I could do what took you 30 minutes, 45 minutes to do, and if I can do it in 5 to 10 minutes with plugins, why shouldn't I?
Okay.
Why shouldn't I?
Now this is a lovely subject. Okay, now let's look at this example. You'd go to a private school. I'd go to a public school. You take years on your private school, you go to the university, you work hard for your business, then at the end you have your own legacy. I mean, I go to my public school, I go to a university, I go work for someone else. At the end of the day, the person who worked hard for his stuff, you'll see the final product. Actually, it won't break down easily. There will be time where there won't be these presets. What are you gonna do?
No, but then that's the thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing that we're saying about cameras. Cameras are only getting better, and there's gonna be even better and easier to do that. So I'm guessing even with Photoshop, maybe Photoshop 2020 will have more features that wanna come out. That are.
Me on my side, I enjoy retouching. I enjoy spending time on one image just to look at the final beautiful image that was done by me with my own hands, without no preset, without no quick action, you know. But yeah, actions are making retouching easier, but it's robbing away the fun out of retouching.
So we're going back to fun versus
yes,
productivity.
It is, man. It is. I enjoy spending time on my screen working on one image, knowing that when Marv's saying, "Hey, Sbu, this is a beautiful image," knowing that I did that, not the panel, not the preset, only me.
But isn't the end results the most important thing? I'm shooting for a client, and then I have more or less the same end result as you do, but in lesser time, which means i.e. I've earned more rent to time relations compared to you.
Then Mav Inc.'s company will hire you to do the very same results. Mawfika corner, you don't have presets. What you gonna do?
Angitphela, you always travel with your stuff.
Yeah.
You travel with your stuff.
Yeah.
Mav, please help us out.
Yeah.
You travel with your stuff.
I don't know. For me, editing is personal, and everybody has their own workflow, and everybody has their own tools to do the job. I usually make a example with a backyard mechanic and a mechanic from VW. A mechanic from VW has all the spanners, all the little jigs and tools and what, but you find the backyard mechanic is able to solve a problem that VW has been working on your car for the past 6 months, and they've now escalated it to their head office and they're waiting for feedback. And you get to this guy next door. True, I had a car like that where my audio gave me hassles and hassles and hassles and hassles, and this guy just came to my car and he said, "Nah, man, it's the oxygen sense." And I'm like, no, this guy said what, they put it on the computer and what. And I went back to them and I said, somebody says the oxygen sense, and I fought them and they changed the oxygen sense and the car was fine forever. Yeah. So for me, I always say it's just about the right tool in the right hands. You understand? If Usbuda is able to dial in that look, push Photoshop without having any extra help, good for him. He has the eye and the know-how to do it, and it yields him that result. Because remember, Nama plugins, they give you there and you tweak.
Yes.
He's able to dial it into life. And sometimes you're like, okay, it looks fine. I'm not really happy, but I don't know what to do to bring it to where I'd be more than happy. But when I say, whatever software you use, be it Lightroom, Photoshop, Photo Mechanic, Wondershare, whatever. If you are able to end results, what matters is end result. Whether you're using a panel, whether you're using an action, whether you're using a plugin, whether you're using a differential, whether you use this in conjunction with that, is at the end of the day, once you're done with your image and you put it up on the screen, you can smile. For me, it just comes down. I always tell people, I use Lightroom, but try Lightroom, try this, try that, and see what works for you.
Sounds fair.
I use a Canon, but try a Nikon, try a Sony, try a Pentax. Maybe the colors that the Pentax gives right out of camera is what you are looking for, and work with that. To me, Ben always fights me and says, yeah, but then how do you do it? What do you want to do? Me, I can show you how to mimic me, but what do you want to do? When we edit a picture, what is your end? No, I want this. He loves deep shadows. I hate those black shadows.
I know, guys. No,
he dives.
I understand. No, Ben. No, I know. No.
But I needed to learn to say that's how he renders his images in his mind, and that's how he sees them. And I have to let him be. I always used to say to him, man, these black shadows of yours,
but I still say no.
Add a bit of light. But let's do this. But you need to. If you can get the end results
the way you want it,
be it a 5 rand software, be it a 50,000 rand software, learn it, let it do what you need it to do, and use it.
Okay. But before wait. I know Nico wanna run away from this one. But now, guys, what happened to creating your own signature as a photographer or as a retoucher? What happened to it?
That's what I'm saying.
Because now I think I've seen 3 or 4 Instagram photographers. Okay, photographers on Instagram. They're not Instagram photographers. They've got the very same skin tones, mid tones, shadows, colors, and everything is just the same. It's just different locations and different people. What do you say to that?
Yes, or like skin tones, mid tones.
Yeah, it's, you know, okay,
So many
wait.
people-
The
so many
shadows,
people-
the highlights, and the mid-tones.
No,
Everything there's got its own color.
That statement, Jack Pell,
Yes.
you already highlighted something else,
Yes,
which is what the meat of this topic is.
yes.
Where do we start to learn all those? Because those things are very important, especially for like good
Yes.
portraiture.
Yes.
Where do we start to learn? Do we say, okay, for the first year, no plugins, or for the first 2 months, no plugins? Let me learn all those things. Let me go back to understanding the basic definitions of these things. What is highlights? I mean, for example, let's look at this bad shot Gamav, which we can't get right.
Yeah.
It's overblown. There's no shadows, and we apologize for that. It's just, this is our first setup. We got the sound right. Forgive us for that. Let's work on the video next time.
Yeah.
What is the entry point? I mean, I had to force one of my proteges to say, you know what, start working with Photoshop.
Yes.
Everybody is Lightroom. Put in Lightroom, tone, whatever.
Yes.
Let's stop being lazy. Let's start removing the basic things. Lightroom doesn't do spot removal perfectly.
Yes.
Let's just do the basic things, go into Photoshop.
Yes.
And then, but there's levels up to the point where you get to dodging and banning. Now, you need to start to understand what is dodging, what is banning. What are you dodging, what are you banning?
Yes.
Okay.
You just touched you just touched base on Lightroom. Lightroom has got its own workflow, and it's there to teach us where to start and where to end when it comes to retouching. In Lightroom, you cannot just scroll up and go retouch the what you call this, that outline, that what do you call that? I forgot.
Halo. What
The halo. Yeah. You cannot just scroll up and edit the halo. You need to start with the basics. The very same thing you need to do when retouching, when getting to create your own signature. You need to start knowing actually what is it exactly that you are. What's your signature as a photographer? I'm a presets. They'll damage you, because you'll end up not learning everything. You just click
or anything.
Click. Lightroom is there to guide us before we jump into the to the panels in Photoshop.
No, but even good Lightroom, you still have presets.
Yes, you still have presets.
The ones that you can buy, you can buy packs and all those things like that.
Yes, it's there to guide you. You go step by step up until the last step. Then now you can say, I did my magic on this image. Now, what is wrong on that image? Then that's where I call Nico. Nico, what's happening here? I'm getting 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then Nico will advise. Your skin tone is too much yellow. There's
especially the camera is very
yes, that's how you learn. Yes.
There's no black camera balance.
That's how you learn. Then you'll come back and say, okay, sharp. You fix. Then okay, now sharp. All right. Now Nico's images have got those bluish. What do you call these shadows? Okay. What can I do different on Nico's images now? Okay. You work around your shadows. You'll get your signature. Anything that will work with your style.
But is that not based from your shooting, how you shoot your image, like how you light it, and basically your lighting, how deep your shadows are, how
I think that plays a big role.
It does too. But we still need to see your signature. I'll point out 2 photographers, from local photographers. DJ Busang. I'll point DJ Busang's work from Fax and say that's Busang's work.
Yeah.
His signature is very much clear and simple.
And I've seen a few people who are copying him actually.
Yes. Yeah. I'll point out who's this guy? He's from Devon. I forgot his name. You can point his work from far and say this is somebody else's work. Umav.
Umav no, jealous down.
You
I
can
still
point
say,
out, you can point out Mav's work.
Umav,
This is Mav's work.
Umav, you don't even need to go far. It's like, oh, you just scroll out, that's Mav ink. Let's scroll up, we Instagram. As the photo comes out, because there is developed that recipe. So I there's that recipe that not everybody can cook.
I think Ulento Usbuda is touching on something very, very. I think I was also in that trap. Yeah, my presets. I'm a preset stop you from learning what the software is actually doing. It stops you. I was a lento. The first time I shot Nico, I got a DM, matey. Hey, Mara, did you see your pitch? I'm like, hey, this guy. Hey, this guy. Hey, after 100 likes, this guy is coming to tell me about my pitch. But once you start learning how to do the things yourself, now you're able to process the images as you like. And it starts becoming consistent. Look at Amy now. Yes. When I'm scrolling on Instagram, I can point to Amy. Before even his name comes up, I can say, this is Amy. This is Amy. Understand that you it's like your signature. I can point out to Nico.
The only reason
even that red tag comes up.
If you see a white composition, just know it's me. That's the only thing that
but
that
the
I
presets,
do.
the presets, like Usbuda says, you click a button, you're not sure what's going on in the background. I think you need to. It's one thing I also started doing, which is action, and you unpack it and you say, what is this action doing?
No, what's happening?
Oh, they're adding Gaussian blur here. Oh, okay. No, here color balance. Oh, okay.
Know how to control. Know how to control that workflow.
Okay, yeah. So you, and then now you start saying, I don't need the color balance. Remove. I know. I want this here. Oh no. This one I don't need to remove. And now you start getting your own style and workflow. But if you don't invest the time, like Nico always says, one tool at a time, and it helps. Brush. What does the brush do? Lenzani, is this soft, hard? Minzani, oval. Oh, okay. Now let's go to the next tool. This. If you invest on one tool per week, man, come on, in 2 months.
I think what you guys are saying, Nico is like one of the guys on Chicago. Dude, learn Photoshop. Like. Marv knows I hardly use Photoshop. I think I've been lazy to learn Photoshop more than I don't like Photoshop. I think it's more of.
Can I correct you before you go further? No? I'm not saying learn Photoshop because that's the way to edit. But I'm just saying, you are close to hitting the ceiling with Lightroom. You just need to get more extra tools to blend a bit better. I'm not saying leave Lightroom alone. Lightroom is still a basic that everybody needs to know. I still believe. If you go on.
No, that is very true. Most of my images and probably 95% of my work is just Photoshop. It's just Lightroom. Recently, I started playing around with the brushes on Photoshop. Recently, I started playing around on Photoshop with the brushes on the hardness and applications of brushes using just a blank page, white page on Photoshop. But one thing. I don't know how to use or I haven't understood how it works. It's the presets. I think what you guys are touching on the presets. I think the presets it's already done. You just need to tweak that and that.
When you learn the university.
Yeah, well,
so you skip to the presets.
Yeah. I when I was taught Photoshop and showed up Photoshop, I went to Marv showed me, Nick showed me, Sbuda one time showed me, and the presets. I don't understand what presets are all about and stuff like that. And I could not understand maybe that click a button. I think it's more like the auto button on Lightroom. It doesn't make sense to me. You understand? Because I think there is no standard way of starting out to edit a picture. With every picture, there's a different feeling on. Okay, do I go temperature first? Do I go contrast first? Do I go blacks first? You understand? Like you kind of look at the picture and go like, okay, this is what I was going for. So I'm first killing this so I can adjust this better and stuff like that. So I think Photoshop and presets or Lightroom and presets, if it's your thing, it's your thing. But with every picture or image comes a different feeling on how you want to play with it. And one thing I think that's been very important on my development has been ask. You understand? If even if I've done a picture and I like it and say, wow, what an edit I did, I still send Marv, Nick, dude, what do you think? Well, you understand?
I think you forgot the YouTube till 5 a.m.
Yeah, and guys are never sleeping. There's 450 gigs from Telkom. I never sleep because I'm always on YouTube. I'm always learning. One of my recent posts, I think I was doing my 100th post, right? Just exactly a year after I started shooting, and I wrote that the difference is when I don't just run. I run and stop in us directions and walk slow, and then I think that's the most important thing in everything, other than just Photoshop or photography and stuff like that. Yeah, that's my piece.
All right. No, that's a nice statement. If you might just go through the comments, so even if there are no questions, say hi to people that are there.
Okay.
It's
We
Bonabobane.
had Mr. Omar Vincent Malule.
Where is he?
Where is he? He's supposed to be here.
Joined us. Then we had Tutugane Kwela. Tutugane Kwela, I was saying, just recently joined fam. Thank you. So for me, I'm just not that experienced and recently got myself a D610 and I only have autofocus Nikos 35 to 70 mil f3.3 to 4.5. In a few days, I'll be shooting a wedding. Please, I need a best advice to what I should hire from lenses to lighting. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tutukani 610 D610, brilliant camera,
It's a perfect
I
camera.
love
It's
entry level full frame. I think it's the second iteration of the 600.
600, yeah.
Very beautiful camera. Depending on your budget and your experience, okay, the standard wedding photographer kit is a 2470 7200,
Yes.
right? And your lighting,
Yes.
but there is an in between.
Yes.
The 24 to 105 is a very, very capable lens.
Yes.
Wait, I didn't even switch to myself. It's a very, very 24 to 105 is a very, very capable lens. But when it comes to weddings, I always say, whatever tools that you want to use, make sure you use them before you go use them.
Yes.
So borrow, hire. I mean, hiring is not so bad. $300 a day.
Yeah.
If you go hire it and use it Saturday, and you're shooting the next week, Saturday or 2 weeks from there on, I think you'll be perfect.
Actually, that's what he was asking. It's saying I need a best advice to what I should hire. He's looking for hiring. Yeah.
If you can afford, to, in my opinion, if you can afford 2 lenses, which is about $600 to $800 for both of them combined, it will be a 2470 7200.
Yeah.
7200 because of its long reach and compression.
Yes.
2470 for your wides and your close-ups. Very beautiful. Otherwise, if you just want to use one tool, you don't want to get confused. 24 to 105.
Just to add on, if your budget is tight, please just get yourself a 7200 and a 50 because already you've got a wide lens 35 to 70. Because I know if you shoot with a 24 to 70, there's no way you're gonna shoot around f2.8.
No, but my only problem is the variable aperture, 3.5 to 4.5. I mean, because if you're shooting manually, and you set your, let's say at your 35 millimeter, you have 3.5. Once you start zooming in, your aperture is closing down. That's my only thing that I don't like, variable exposure. You want to add on, move in quickly?
No, but it's true. A breathing lens, to a point to what I usually do if I'm using a breathing lens is I keep it to the maximum.
What is a breathing lens?
Lenses that are alive now.
Please talk to people who just came from Crash University.
Well, okay, a breathing lens is a lens that changes aperture as you zoom. So the full zoom range, you might find it like they say now 3.5 to 4.5. So as you zoom, it will go from 3.5 to 4.5.
Yeah.
In a situation where I have such a lens,
Yes.
my maximum aperture in that lens will be the maximum aperture that lens can do.
So that you
That's why
only
I
have-
do not have to have the breathing.
want
One
it,
time,
yeah.
one stop up and you zoom in and
Yeah.
yeah, one
Your
stop
images,
under.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it keeps you very busy. So usually when I got a lens like that, I say it's a 4.5.
Okay.
And that's the max
Yeah.
aperture I
Yeah.
use.
And okay, anyone wanna add?
Yeah,
on
no,
that?
it's
Okay,
isikhathi
what's
siyahamba.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tembinkosi. Okay, that was not Tembinkosi. That was Tutugani. Thank you so much, Tutugani. Another one was Kanyisile Jules.
Cassette.
Cassette too busy now. Okay, Cassette. Oh,
Ufuni
Kanyisile was saying-
workshop. Ufuni workshop.
Kanyisile was saying, please, workshop, Iatrapa, Photoshop. Okay. Can you see? I'll give her details at the end of this episode. Yeah, she's saying we use presets on client that don't want us to post their pics.
I mean, I still.
No, I,
No, that is. I mean, I think that's. I mean, I'm sure she's joking, but that attitude is not correct. If you're offering a service, always do it to your best.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they're free clients or they're paying minimum, the fact that you accepted to do that job,
Yeah.
you always have to be usbuda. They must expect the same quality as
Yes,
Buddha,
yes.
regardless what the baknikeza 20 rand or they
Yes,
gave you your full
Yeah.
50,000 rands charge.
The very
Yeah.
same thing that draw them to you, you need to
Like-
just give them. That's
Yeah.
I used to tell Ben, ngithi, never shoot for cheap.
Yes.
This is not meaning I won't shoot for discount. I won't shoot for free. I'm saying never shoot for cheap, because once you feel this is not really giving me what I need, you don't put in the effort. I'd rather shoot for free
Free?
and give it my all
Yeah.
than to shoot for cheap. So I usually say, stay away.
You know? Yeah.
Sbuda, let's. Oh, sorry, Ben. Sorry, Ben.
I think in what he's saying, you find other photographers who say, "I never take out my camera with no money in it." That means you hardly practice. So the mistakes that you're gonna make are gonna be big. I think practice helps a lot. So it will help you not to even your prizes will come with that. If they don't want to shoot, I think you just simply refer them to somebody who will be more happy to shoot them at that price. If they're not happy with your price,
Yeah.
then
No,
they
no.
came to the wrong
Yeah,
person.
makes sense. Always do your best, regardless whether you're doing it cheaply or free or at your regular or even more expensive.
Yes.
Let's run through the comments quickly and we
Okay,
need to close up.
I think those were the last comments. If I'm not mistaken, please tell me if you see some there.
Okay.
I only have 30 here. It's from it was Tembinkosi, Kanyisile, Mr. Ray, Tutugani, and who else? Yeah, that is pretty much it.
Charlene just joined us.
Our Charlene Bell.
Charlene, welcome. We
Please
need you
bring-
on the studio.
We need you on this panel the next episode. You and your nice Sony and the husband,
And the
please.
husband.
And the
Jensen
husband.
Clemmer is in the house, baby.
Yes, Klisit Lem, we
Love your wife.
friend of the family. We love you guys. Thank you. Okay, let's just close up this topic. What are we saying to you, new photographers? Plugins, presets, and all those things. Mina, I think, in my opinion, the problematic thing is not getting the image right in camera.
Yeah.
You bring it into Lightroom, you have so many things to fix that a lot of things are breaking. You don't understand why your photo is not the same as Gamav.
Yes.
You know, when you start adding in actions, presets, and plugins, and that's when you're starting to enhance or start to play around with your curves when you wanna attain a certain mood. So when you're shooting, you need to make sure your highlights are proper the way you want them. Obviously, if you like blown out highlights, shoot that way in your camera. If you like deep shadows, shoot that way in your camera. That way, when you bring into Lightroom, it's 99%, 90% of what you want.
Yes.
The only thing is you remove your spots wherever you need to.
Yes.
You clean up your image wherever you need to, and then from there on, that's when you start playing.
Yes.
Let me add this type of color,
Yes.
and I don't know.
My
You guys-
simple,
Yeah.
my simple words would be learn how to control your preset or your action or your what do you call that? The panel.
With the panel.
Yes.
Sounds busy
Learn,
Makab.
learn how to control those. Once you learn how to control them, how to remove what you don't need there, then you fine.
Yeah.
You can start using them. If you don't know how to control them, don't use them. But yeah, that's just simply it. Yeah, learn how to control them.
Yeah, let's. I
I
think we
think
can just close.
my closing comments would be just invest in your tools. Whatever you have, it's an 18 to 55, invest in it. We've seen magical pictures come from that. It's a crop sensor camera, it's whatever.
People
Invest
made
in
money
your-
with a Nikon,
Exactly.
with a Canon 40D.
Yeah.
That's a 10 megapixel camera.
Camera,
That's
exactly.
they made lots of money. They printed
Sure.
magazines, albums, and things like
you know,
that. Yeah.
and I always say reach out to other photographers, learn what they do, and learn how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Big Ben, in closing.
Big Ben. I think one thing I'm happy about is as I shoot, I keep on asking, I keep on learning, and I'm always on YouTube. I feel like I still don't know anything on photography. One thing that as a new photographer that we need to be doing, or you need to be doing, or whoever is ask questions. Want to know why. Like if you have a light, do not just throw that light there anyway. Find out why is the light put at this angle and stuff like that. Because I think most of the times is we don't understand what we're lighting or what we're doing. Even composition. The reason why I don't have so many pictures of outdoors is because it's a challenge for me. I'm scared of the outside, but I'm trying to learn it and understand it. So that means I'm still shadowing a whole lot of people. You understand? And every time, whenever I pass by and I see photographers, I don't just pass.
Yeah.
I stand and see what they do. And sometimes you don't learn from asking only. You just observe and try to understand why they're doing that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Recently, I have a friend who just started being interested in lighting, but he doesn't really ask. He sees setups on Pinterest and other shoots that Marv has done. Recently posted a setup of Marv, and I asked him, "Do you understand what Marv was doing here?" And he said, "Yeah, he was lighting this lady." I'm like,
Yeah. Speaking of which, Marv, we are waiting for you.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
this Wednesday, studio tutorials on the podcast in the evening, 7 p.m. First episode, locked in.
yeah.
Now
Thank
The
you.
only thing we
Siabonga.
the only thing we shot off is a model.
Before our okay, wait. Before we close, there is Princess Ma Vilankulu.
Yeah.
Montoyiwa.
Again, yeah, Mtlowa, yeah.
She's asking, guys, which photographer influenced you guys? How did they influence your work and your photography? Quick.
Okay. Ngilqala. Okay, can I start? Okay. In order.
Yeah.
Okay. I was still following about these guys from America. Stopped that when I quit photography, when I came back, my main influence is still today. In order was Ulungile Machila.
Yeah.
It went to Usbuda Zoid. It went to Ken Kuzo, who's not here, who's supposed to be here.
Yeah, where is he?
Skip a few years and then we joined Umav.
Yeah.
These are the guys that I'm competing against in my own self, in my own self, not in public. Obviously, I'm not a photographer. Everybody knows that. So there are certain skills that I want to acquire, certain understanding things, approach that I want to understand. That is the only thing. Sbuda editing kills it. Lungile just does stuff. he stands there and does okay, that and Marv has this. I don't know. Let's call it je ne sais quoi. There's this thing, which when I told him a couple of years back, I think 2 years ago, but you shoot better than me. I don't understand why you're asking advice from me because you shoot way better than me. There's thing about his work that he produces. Every time I'm shooting a project with Marv, I'm like, okay, I bow down. Yeah, those are my influences. You follow these guys. Unfortunately, Lungile is no longer in photography until we get him back.
Yeah,
So-
we will get it back.
So I've got Usbuda, no Marv as my influencers. Big Ben, quickly.
What about me?
Yeah.
Who's that, Marv?
You?
Me. Yo, it's a varsity. Marv Ungchutile got me into photography. I don't know what did you do that, because I fell in love with it. Marv, Nick, Spuda, Lungile are the most people I used to see when they shoot mostly, especially Nick and Marv. And to Spuda,
That's when I share secrets.
yeah, exactly. But with the people that I follow, it's people who are actually really my mentors in life as well. And your work has been amazing, basically, to a point that I don't see myself any closer anytime. But my idea is to get there and beat you. Watch that, guys. Watch that.
All right, quickly, Marv.
And can I say one last thing? This princess, the question that she asked, I swear she'll be a photographer. If she's not.
Okay, Marv, quickly in closing.
Yeah, I think people who influenced me, the first people who really started sharing knowledge with me, Pierre van der Walt, Francois Poisons, Ed Fenter were the first people to really share the insights of this photography thing. And then I got to meet Ulungile Majila, and he became quite a big influence in mine. Uniko, he became a big influence. Then I met Usbuda. He became. Then I met Ulento Busang. I met Busang. I used to see him online. I got to meet him through you guys, and he's been amazing. You know, I interact now in Mbuzo notes about what was your lighting setup, and he always shares.
Yeah,
So
and
for me,
Busang always shares.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
polite,
yeah.
if you're
And
polite enough and ask properly,
Properly,
and
he-
is very willing to share.
yeah,
And
for
now
me-
and again, it does run workshops
Yeah.
for you
True.
to
Yes.
attend.
P.S. Amy as well.
Oh yes.
Amy is every day on Facebook Live. If you wanna
Yeah.
know
You wanna
his
know how to
insights,
edit,
how he shoots, Amy's always on
And
Facebook.
and like Kupen says, Amy is also very sharing. I've went to so
Yeah.
many shoots with him, and he's a very nice, down to earth person as well.
Okay, Princess, my list is long. 2 hours is okay. But just
Okay,
to
quickly, 5 seconds
quickly,
is cut.
point them out. It's Danny Diamond. It's there's a guy by the name of Neto Tliane, Homoto Neto Tliane. That's the very first guy.
Oh,
Yes.
Humutso, I wanna
Yes.
get if anybody knows Humutso there, I want to Humutso or no plant on this podcast.
I think I still have inbox and I'm sending Liona back in 2014 or 2013 if I'm not mistaken. That guy is the reason why I picked up a camera. Although he's a street photographer, he does his own style. I do my own style, but he's the very person who made me pick up the camera and shoot. Then kwalandela inkabuzamo abo Putniko, abo Lungile, Mr. Busangi, yeah, baning Princess. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Guys, I think we've almost come to the end of the episode. And again, as always, by the way, this episode was brought to you by...
Photography.
So we've got personalized mugs. I couldn't. This is mostly for me. I couldn't make it in radio, so I started a podcast. That's us. So get your own for its bits mug at $100. Support the podcast. We still need cameras. We still need lighting and things like that. Sponsored by Mav Inc. Please, if you want your own mug, we can do personalized ones. I think in closing, as in tradition, picks of the week quickly.
Hey.
If you're paying for it, my pick of the week is the texture slider good Lightroom. Oh, nyabonga. Thank you.
I only saw it yesterday.
Texture slider, and you know, back in the days when we used to try skin smoothing before we understood what this thing, we used to do negative clear it, which was wrong. Then I started doing the noise reduction to make the skin smoother, which almost worked as a trick. But now, thank God, they brought the Texas Slider to Lightroom. So you can paint in, you can brush in your skin smoothing and things like that on Lightroom on I think version 8.3.1 upwards. That's my pick of the week. Look for it if you're paying for it.
Mine. Look and ask for it if you want it. Look and ask for it. Bakufakele USB. Yes, please. That's it. And just to wrap it up, the workshop is coming out. Kem, one of the good brothers, is offering me a place where I would just host my workshop. Yes, it's coming out. It's gonna happen. So for those who are willing to come and listen and get knowledge, yes.
Big Ben, pick of the week.
I just found out about the texture slider. I think I want that too. I use the old way of smoothing skin, so I think that will be my pick of the week. Yeah.
Oh, you can pick the same thing that I picked.
Like I'm copying.
Mavi.
I think my pick of the week has been the lately this week I've been looking at the AD200. The AD200, it looks like a
we've spoken a lot
very
about that.
attractive light to me.
When we came
And
to
the one is getting big, and yeah. So I think for me that would be the pick of the week. And then just in closing as well, Wednesday we'll be starting our studio tutorial. So please tune.
Yep. I think that is it. Yeah, 8200 and the PL2 120. PL 120. Those two combos. Never go wrong. Very affordable strobe, and I think thank you guys, everybody who tuned in live, and thank you for everybody who's gonna watch in days to come. Great episode.
Oh yeah,
guys.
and word to camera tech, study Canon R, please. Camera tech, please. The Canon R, if you're listening, we wanna test it out. It's the one we haven't marked off the list yet.
So we've done Sony, we've done Fuji, we just want the R.
The R.
Okay, guys, and as to the frequency of the podcast is determined by you guys. If you have things that you want us to discuss, inbox on this page. Tell us what you want us to dive into more, and then we'll do that. Don't forget Mav Inc. starting from this week. They will have a interactive studio sessions. He'll explain how he goes through his shooting, his lighting, and hopefully we'll get to Fisto one of the days now to explain why he does makeup the way he does it, and how simple a makeup should the standard person, the layman, have when they come to your shoot. Other than that, thank you guys for coming through, and enjoy.
The name of the outro song.